All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for coming. My name is Alejandro. I'm one of the co-founders of Customly. As you might notice, my English is not good. I have a thick accent, and my jokes don't always land. But regardless of this, I was able to nail my first sales to North American clients while living in South America, and while just being a team of two, me and my co-founder, and without having any products. So if I can do it, you definitely can do it too. So in this presentation, I'll talk about some of the learnings that we had while getting started, the tactics we used, what worked, and what didn't, in order to start rolling the ball and convincing your customers to buy what you're offering. So my first question is, how many of you are building a product, consider yourself founders, are looking into it? Awesome. All right. And how many of you are just getting started with your sales, or you're planning to get started? Good. All right. So let's start by saying the truth number one. When you're getting started, nobody knows who you are. And the truth is that you won't have a marketing budget, you won't have a known brand, and nobody will come knocking at your door. Don't expect, that people would just show up. And that's why you'll have to go and knock on people's doors and show them what you got. When you're getting started, things would look more like consulting and not like selling an actual product. And the customers will actually choose you, not because of the product that you're offering, but because who you are. Because let's be honest, the first version of your product will most definitely suck. And this is why you come into place, right? You should compensate, you should show that you really have what you got in order to work with that customer. If you're solving a hair on fire problem, your customer will be willing to listen to you even if you don't have something tangible, right? And this is why it's so important to pick the problem you're trying to solve to be something that it really stops the bleeding of the customers you're targeting. It would make the entire process much simpler. And I'm not saying that you can start with those problems that are not hair on fire, but it's like playing a video game on hard mode. This stage is also great because it's where you're more flexible. You can pivot, redefine your assumptions, and reiterate faster than at any other stage. You can spend all your time in the trenches, right? Like next to your customer, learning more about their problem and what their true pain points are, what's valuable for them, and how to deliver value. So before getting started with the meat and potatoes, I'll start by listing a few prerequisites. And this better applies to B2B software targeting small and medium businesses. I'm not saying that you can try this with other type of business, but I'm not sure if that would work. And the other thing is that, once again, it's very important to be solving a problem that is important for your customer. As I said before, this hair fire problem, because it would be much, much easier. So with that out of the way, let's start from square one, prospecting, the first step to landing your sale. Prospecting is basically creating a list of leads that you'll be contacting, and let's be honest, it's not very exciting. But this is the first step into getting to your first sale. So the more time you invest on this stage, the more dividends you'll have in the future. So let's start by talking a little bit more about what works with prospecting. You should be specific as the problem that you're trying to resolve as possible. And let me put you an example. So we, Customly, the company that I co-founded, we make it easy for online stores to sell personalized products, right? So out of the millions and millions of e-commerce business out there, we target to those that sell personalized products. those customers have a very specific need that nobody else would have if they are not selling personalized products. And that's why when you're being so specific, it's much easier to be effective when you're targeting this subset of customers. So as I said, if you're specific, finding leads will be much simpler. So instead of like looking for every e-commerce platform that I could offer my e-commerce business that I could offer my software to, I'll be just targeting a very specific set, which I know that my solution it's very useful. All right, collect data. This is the bread and butter of prospecting. It's basically how you create your list of contacts. There are so many ways to collect data, and there's a lot of literature about it, but I'll just list a few things that work for us. Good old Google and Mail Hunter. So you would just go and look for your customer, right? In our case, it's like what your customer is doing, sell personalized products online. So we would type on Google personalized products online, and then we'll just get a list of the leads that we were interested in. And with this tool, the Mail Hunter, we would go page by page and retrieve all the emails. And they also have their titles as well, Director of Marketing and sales. So you sort of know who to target as well. This is great when you're getting started because you can start not only understanding who your customer is, but also understanding who you should talk to. There's another tool that is great. It's called Built With. This is when you are sort of like finding the prospect that use a competitor. And this is also very interesting because they might be evaluating other options, or you at least know that they have the need. They already look for something similar or bought something similar. So here you can get a list of all the e-commerce stores, the revenue they're making. I mean, this number is not very accurate, but the amount they spend on tech. But it always gives you an idea of what are other people using. And then there are other tools such as Apollo.io. Those tools are more suitable when you're on a larger scale. It's basically a database of 6 million companies where you can filter according to size, budget, and so on and so forth. But when you're getting started, I would stick to this too. They work great. And then another thing that is very important, it's write down your hypothesis. So this is great because it would really help on your next iteration when you are categorizing your prospects, and just write down why they think they are likely or unlikely to buy what you're offering. Maybe you can use a percentage of how much you think they'll buy your product. And the reason why this is great is because you start sort of testing your hypothesis. And let me put you an example. When we were getting started, we were targeting those e-commerce that didn't have any tool like ours. And we thought that if you don't have a tool, then you will need one. But it turned out that those that were more likely to buy were those that were already using a similar product, right? And the fact that we were able to write that down is that we started finding this trend. And then on our second iteration, instead of targeting those that have no product at all, we were specific to those that already had bought something similar to us. So as I said, when you're prospecting, it's not a time for assumptions. It's about defining your hypothesis. And you shouldn't be very picky about the prospect that go into your list. But you should always write down why you think they are likely or unlikely to buy your product. Because you will be testing that hypothesis later in time. All right. So if you get a good job prospecting, the result will look something like this. As you can see, this is not of best quality, but you see the list of emails, the names, and these are some specifics about their sites. Like, for example, in this case, what we included, and I'm going to talk about this later, is something that would make the approach a little bit more personal, right? So instead of just sending the same cookie cutter email. You'll just include something that is very specific about them so they can feel more connected. And also the list of hypotheses, which is not visible here, but anyways. All right. So, words of wisdom. Don't spend too much time trying to, automate the process, right? I mean, I'm an engineer, and a lot of people, when they are, starting, they are thinking about, oh, how can this work at scale? This is not the time when you want things to work at scale. This is the time that you want to really understand the process and get very deep into detail. So don't spend too much time, trying to automate things. Better use that time next to your customers, talking to them, writing those emails, and just feeling how that process works. All right, so this is the second stage, how to make contact, also known as spray and pray. Let's talk a little bit more about how this contact should look like. As I said before, we'll be concentrating on outbound because when you're starting, nobody knows who you are. You should take the first step, right? Usually we use email. It's the best way to get started, in my opinion. When you don't have, let's say, a brand or a marketing budget. So you'll start writing these emails, and you'll be starting writing a template, right? And the first thing about the template is that you can iterate very fast on it, but you should also take this into consideration to get started. First of all, make it short and sweet. Nobody, has the time to read a super long email. Make it about them, put them in the center. Try not to talk a lot about you. This is the time for them to feel wow, somebody really has a solution for my problem. Somebody is, thinking about this. How can this solution, make my business better, more efficient, saving costs, whatever. Offer them something valuable right away, right? And a very clear call to action. An extra bonus, you can track every link that you send, and this is great to understand, who are the customers who are engaging more with the emails that you're sending. Bitly, it's an option, but there are so many email trackers. You can track how many times an email was open, locations, if it was shared, and all that information is super valuable. So you can, double down your efforts on those people that are more engaging with your message. And this is another sort of secret. Make the most out of your signature, and this is where you can shove your product in their faces. It's like your space, so we'll just cover that right now. So this is sort of an email template that we used on 2018 when we were getting started. So as you can see, it's pretty short. These are the details that we were creating on the Excel sheet that we were putting on the Excel sheet. So you can create a more personal connection with the customer. So my girlfriend loved your design. She was quite impressed with your custom chopping boards, which was the product that they were offering at the time. So as you can see, this is the only thing that we mention about our product, that we have a preview technology. And it has a clear call to action. Just reply yes. Make it simple. You can also include your Calendly or whatever link you want them to book a meeting with you. When we were getting started, we didn't know about that, so we were just reply yes. And this is, the interesting thing, right? This is where you can talk about you, what your product does, without being very invasive, without being all over their faces. We included a GIF. So a little animation of how our software works. And this was so important because just by looking at this, you can understand exactly what our software does, how it can add value to your store. And we also included Bitly on this link so we can understand how many times they were clicking on the links, how many times we were opening the mail, and so on. All right, so now it's time to hit send. There are so many email merging tools. Basically, what the email merge tools do is they replace those fields that you leave on your template with the information from your Excel sheet. So it creates a more personal email. You can configure an automatic follow-up. This is great because there are so many customers that we closed because we were able to follow up automatically. A lot of people, they receive the email. Maybe they are interested. Maybe they need your solution, but somebody happens. Someone calls them, so they forget. And following up, it's just a great way to double down on your efforts, and it's automatic as well. And as I said before, you should always track the opening rate, the clicks, replies. You could also A/B test different versions as well. We also had different versions according to every different vertical. So when it came to home decor, we had a specific mail. When it came to stationery, we had a specific mail. So you can use that as well. Give me a second. All right. All right, so if you're lucky, this is what will happen. Thanks for your email. You have something that I've been waiting for someone to invent for quite a while now. Can your software be incorporated in a Magento site? So this is the reply that we got. And when this happens, it's great. You should pat yourself in the back, celebrate. It's like your first win. And you schedule a call, and this is where the sale happens. And the secret is that you should not try to sell. What I mean? So one of our first customers once told us, I'm one of your first customers. You should be paying me. Sorry, I'm one of your first customers. You should be paying me, not the other way around. And I was like, oh, cool, but you're going to pay me? And the truth is that he was right. It's much more valuable. You'll get much more value out of your first customers than the money that you'll get back. And this is key to understand, if you have a long-term vision, how all these interactions with your customers are gold will really shape your product, and it will really help you iterate and become better when you're approaching to new customers. Remember that your objective here is to learn. And yeah, the title of my presentation is Founder Sales, so there should be some selling involved, right? But the learnings at this stage, as I said, are much more valuable than the money that you'll get. You should always talk to your prospects, and if they say no, that's even good. You can try to squeeze as much information as possible on why that no, and use it for your later sales. So when you're on this stage of selling the product, the most important thing is you can have a Zoom call, but it's better if you meet. And the most important thing is to listen. So instead of just starting by talking about you and your product, what you do, how incredible, how you will revolutionize the world, just listen to your customer and adapt your pitch so it resonates with them, right? So they'll start talking about their problems. They'll start talking about, why life is so terrible. And you always listen and reply with something that it could solve their problems. And as I said, just concentrate on listening and just give small pieces of solutions so this customer starts feeling that, you could help him out. Prototype. So this is one of my favorite parts. I'm an engineer, but so far we could have no product whatsoever, and we could continue doing all the stages until the prototype. But the prototype, don't think that you'll have to build a product or nothing like that. It's just a prototype. Keep in mind that at this stage, you're building a specific solution for a single client, right? And use this in your favor. Build something fast with their use case in mind and nothing else, right? The minimum value you can give them, and you're not building a product right here. You're just showing them how you could help him with something tangible. And the third thing Well, this is why I'm using a safety pin, because you're just like gluing and putting something together that doesn't need to look good, but it needs to transmit that it could be valuable for them. And if I had to tell you the #1 reason why our customers were buying, it was because they love our prototypes. We were basically cloning their pages and did everything like very manually to have this previewing technology showing there with our products. But it was like something very, very specific for them, and that's why we were able to do it so fast. And the third one is let them drive. When your prospect feel in control, they are much more likely to buy. They'll always know you want to sell them, right? So they'll be the ones asking what's the next step, how we should move forward. And you should give them a clear path, a reasonable price, and let them decide. And that's it. If they ghost you, you can follow up, as I said, with emails. If they say no, always ask them, why not? Always offer them, it's okay, you shouldn't buy our software, we can still be friends. If they say yes, congratulations, you got a fair sale. So as I said, you can pat yourself on the back, do a little dance, and whoop. And now what? Okay, you sold your product. Great, now what? It's not over. You should always try to keep your customers very close, as I said. Make them happy, ask them for feedback. Just show them that you're there, willing to help, willing to solve their problems. It's not just they're buying a one-thing solution. It's like they're buying you, right? They're buying your service, they're buying your time. So make them happy, because a happy customer will always recommend their friends. And this is the best growth driver, right? You'll see all companies at scale always trying, customers to recommend them, because when there is somebody that comes with a friend recommendation, it's so much better. It's like your customers are actually your distributors. They start selling your product. It's always, very important to listen to their feedback as well, but not like everything they say. And this is where, it's interesting what Henry Ford said about, if he would have listened to their customers, he would have built a faster horse. Because, customers will have a lot of things to say, a lot of suggestions, and you should understand how to separate between what they actually need, like the root cause of the problem, from the symptom that they are manifesting. And with all this, you just gather your learnings, you rinse and repeat on your next iteration. And that's it for all. I'm not sure if you guys have any questions.
What's your conversion rate on emails?
Well, conversion rate on emails,
on these emails. So for every
do you remember, Martina, how much we were converting with this once?
We had a 40% reply rate.
Uh-huh.
Which was very high. I don't recall the conversion, but I think we converted 15 of those 40, something like that.
Okay. Yeah, to be honest, this is how we started. We are not doing outbound anymore. But it's great. It's great to track every single conversion, not only like those who buy, but the open rate, how many times are they opening it, and all that information.
How did you transition from a technical background into learning all this?
How did I transition from a technical background to like sales?
Yeah, like how did you make that? Like I'm an engineer, so
Uh-huh.
I think about things in terms of engineering. When I'm building my product right now, it's like I'm like really struggling to think like how do I actually make that jump into like this sector that you're talking about?
This is a great question, because I was just like you. I was in love with technology and code. And the truth is that there was nobody else that was going to sell the product when we were getting started, right? So there was like no other alternative. The great thing about being an engineer is that you can really understand the product from every single perspective, especially when you're talking to customers. And the first thing is that you should show the value, right? But then you would always ask questions. Oh, how is my site speed getting affected by this? So you will have your proper answer. So I would say if you're an engineer, like learning how to sell is much easier than if you're a salesperson that has to learn how to do engineering. There's no secret. Just like get started and you'll learn, iterating. As long as you write down your hypothesis, as long as you really, concentrate on the process in terms of extract learnings from it and not just like complete it. Oh yeah, I sent 1,000 emails. What do you learn? Nothing at all. It's not worth it, right? So as long as you keep, trying to find patterns out of that information, you will always, become a better salesperson.
How do you keep your emails from either being spam or being perceived basically as spam? 'Cause I get emails like that all the time.
Yeah. This is a tough question, and it's so funny because I just sent an email to Julie, and it went to her spam folder. So for some reason, I must be flagged as some sort of spammy guy. There are different ways. So when you're getting started, try to warm up your email before starting to do this outbound. So not sending email right away, but maybe you should send email to your friends. So Google understand there is some like legit activity going on this inbox. There are other services that would also provide this like warming up, kind of thing. There are some things that you could also do technically to verify your email domain. So Google knows that it's legit, that it belongs to you. But yeah, the truth is that it's the best thing not to look that spammy is to have a very engaging rate on your emails, because if everybody is like flagging your email as spam without even opening it, then you'll be flagged as spam, right? But if you send something valuable, that's why it's important to be specific, right? Because if somebody receives an email, right, and it's very relative to a problem they have, it's much more likely for them to flag you as spam, right? So it all comes down to being specific and providing that value to your customers.
How important is the subject line in sending an email?
We tried so many, right? I don't think that it's the first thing that somebody sees, so it's important. How important? I don't know. Martina, do you have an answer for that?
It depends on your openness, I would say. If your emails are getting open, just keep what you chose and move on and see if they're replying. If they're not replying, concentrate on your body of the email. If they're not opening, then yes, you should focus on the subject, because that subject is not generating engagement, and try as many subjects as you want.
Yeah, it's trial and error.
Ridiculous subjects get open. So as long as you track it, it's not that it's important or not, it's that you know if it's performing and what to do.
No more questions?
When you're doing mass emails, correct?
Well, when we were getting started, I wouldn't consider that as mass emailing. We were sending batches of maybe like 25, 50 emails every day.
You were customizing each one of them on a template page?
Well, we were using the mail merge, so we were not like writing every individual mail manually. So there was some customization, yes.
And does that include doing the GIF or PNG file that you were throwing in on each one of them as well?
Well, when we were starting, yes, we divided things in verticals. So jewelry, so in the jewelry vertical, we would send a name necklace or something related to that business.
Okay, but not specifically from their website.
Not specifically, no, not specifically for. So what we included is like, and this is not an example that shows that, but we always concentrated on mentioning a product that they have on their website, and we were offering to create a demo based on that product. So we were like, we know for a fact that our software would work great with this product, and we would send that product link. Would you be interested in our team creating a demo for you? So we try to be like, because the more specific you are, it's great to be specific, but you won't be sending as many emails, right? And as everything else in life, the key is to find the proper balance between, how many emails you send, because the more emails you send, the more possibilities you have of somebody buying, but also not forgetting that in this stage, it's very important to create that personal connection. Somebody else had a question? Yeah.
So I understand the purpose of this is just to kind of get feedback on your first number of sales and drill down on your product and find out about the needs so that you can best meet them to do this on a larger level. Is there a reason that you stopped doing this? I mean, even though your product is, I don't want to say perfected, but it's kind of mainstream, right? Like you kind of know what you're selling. How did this perform relative to what you're doing now, and what are you doing now, and why not just kind of do this to kind of still have your finger on the pulse of what people are really, really saying, or do you have another way of doing that?
Great question. So yeah, this is how we got started. We are not doing outbound. I mean, we are 4 years old. Right now we have about 3,000 customers. We stopped doing outbound 2 years ago. And the reason why is because we found like much better channels. So right now we're distributing our software on the Shopify App Store. So 80% of our customers are on Shopify. So the Shopify App Store, in terms of measure like the metrics, in terms of measuring the return of investment, it's a much better way to spend your money than to do this. And also as we started growing, we started going a little bit down market as well. So the return on investment, like outbound at scale, it's a little bit expensive when you compare it to other marketing channels. So that's why we sort of stopped doing that in order to get the best return out of an investment. Yeah. Okay. She's my co-founder, so yeah, feel free to join.
I was the one who orchestrated the switch from outbound to inbound. And one very important thing that we had is we knew the language of our customers. By speaking to them about their problems, we knew what words they used, and if they wanted a solution for this, how would they Google it, how would they talk about it, so we knew what to write on our website, our copy, and everything that resonated with a message that they would use to search for that. So that's how we started with our inbound, and customers starting knocking our doors for a change.
Cool. And then so how do you keep your finger on the pulse of issues that people are having or things that are changing with Shopify 2.0 or whatever the next iteration is going to be?
No, absolutely. I mean, the thing is, as your team grows bigger, now we're 30, right? So it's not that we cannot be like next to our customers as we used to anymore. So what we try is to at least have some customer interviews at random. So we would just, especially with those customers that are not very satisfied, right? We always want to understand how their experience was. And it's not the same thing, because as you grow, as I said, as you grow larger, then it's an entire team that takes care of support and onboarding and this and that. So you should try to identify those customers that will that you want to understand what's going on. Maybe those your top spenders or the ones that are growing faster, and you should always try to have a 30-minute interview and ask them how things are going.
You said that you have about 30 employees now.
Mm-hmm.
Percentage-wise between sales, IT, customer service, how do you place them within the 30?
From the 30, our sales team's just 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because now most of our sales are done inbound, and those 2 people mostly handle inbound that want to have calls or live demos of the product and stuff like that. But we're not doing this outreach.
Yeah,
The other 28
Engineers.
Yeah.
A lot, support as well,
Yeah.
and then we have a marketing team, small marketing team.
Yeah. Yeah,
And that's pretty much about it.
most of them are engineers and support. Engineers for building the product, and support to really teach our customers how to use it. Our software is you need to be very familiar with software such as Photoshop and Illustrator in order to get the best value out of that. And as we're targeting non-designers, we sort of have to, teach them how design software works. And that's why it's so important to have a support team, live chat. So, if a customer has a question, they can ask us. We also, hire a team in Asia so they can reply to those customers that we have in Australia or in the Pacific as well. Because you really, once again, as you grow bigger, you won't be close to the customer anymore, but you want your team to be real close.
How many customers, users do you have to?
3,000. Yeah.
How did those initial deals that you were making when you didn't really have a product to sell, how did those look different compared to what things look now? Scope-wise, billing, pricing-wise, all of that?
They're completely different.
Yeah, it's a completely different world now.
The price was we came up with a price when we were selling the product. We didn't have a price to sell it for it. We almost didn't have a website, to be honest. So the product has changed a lot. We changed pricing, let's say 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
Since those first customers. Some of them are still customers. They've gone through the price changes and everything.
I
But
think
yeah,
that,
the product is a lot different, of course.
yeah, in general, I think that we sort of went down market. We were, when we started, it was more sort of a consulting kind of thing. And we were charging about $1,000 a month. But it was like, okay, you have my number, you can call me whenever you want. It was that kind of treatment. As we scaled, we thought that there was a lot of opportunity within smaller merchants or just getting started. And there is this trend of drop shipping and how to make money online fast, which actually works with drop shipping. So and this crowd is composed by guys that are just getting started, that they just want to make some money online, right? And that's why we sort of change a little bit our product. We make it simpler. We sort of built on top of what we had, but we kept on making it simple. So the layers that we had first were a little bit, I would say, covered by the new stuff that we have. And that's why we were able to grow faster, because we were targeting smaller merchants.
Do you still have your first customer?
The first one, we lost it not so long
We don't
ago.
have the first one, the store closed, but we do have the second one.
Yeah.
He visits them in their offices in New York
Yeah.
all the time. So
Yeah.
yeah, they're still customers.
Long Island.